Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to build a camera stabilizer so that you can make moving shots and stuff like that with your video camera. And you may have seen videos similar to this out there. Not saying that this one's any better. Hopefully it's not any worse. I'm just saying that this is what worked for me. It's kind of a combination of a couple different things that I've seen. And maybe you take some ideas away from this and maybe you don't. I'm not going to give you an exact price list, even though I'm showing you all the parts that I'm going to be using. I'm not going to give you a price list necessarily because of inflation. You'll see videos out there where people say, oh, you can build this for $15, and you go watch the video, you run out to the hardware store, not counting for inflation, suddenly it costs you $30 to build the setup. Not that that's expensive for something that usually costs about $700 if you buy a prefab camera stabilizer or something like that. But again, I don't know when you're going to be watching this video or if you're going to watch this video at all, so I'm not going to actually tell you specifically what things cost. I might give you a ballpark figure, but that's about it. I'm also going to show you some little tricks and things like that that I did to make it a little bit more useful and more stable, as well as the fact that I had a couple parts on hand, so it's not really fair for me to tell you again what it would cost, because a couple things like this little thing here and this little thing here I had on hand, but you actually wouldn't have to use these. I was just trying to use up some extra pipe fitting parts that I had. So anyhow, this is what we've got. I've got 10-inch pipe, just, you know, regular old pipe you get at the hardware store, 10-inch pipe. Got 3 of these. Again, somewhere in the ballpark of about $5 for these each, mind you, for these pipes. So you're looking at 15 bucks right there off the bat. This little screw, this machine screw, this number 20, 1.5, it's going to be what's going to fit into the bottom of pretty much any camera that's universal. It's got a nut on there. I'll show you what that's used for later. I've got 2 of these flanges, 2 different sizes. This one I already had, and I just wanted to use it up because I didn't have any other use for it. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. And this is the one with the head that fits the 1/2-inch pipe that I'm going to be also using. But again, this is a 3/4, and because I've got a 3/4 that I'm putting on the other end of this project, that's the reason that I've got the reducer that I happen to have had laying around and this little bitty section of pipe. It's kind of cool because these are actually going to add extra balance weight at the end, and again, you'll see how that works later. I got one of these little caps to finish off one of the handles so it doesn't look so bad. I've got your T. Again, everything other than my reducer up here is 1/2-inch. So there's a little T there, all threaded. Got a block of wood. That's about 7 inches long. That's what I used. And I've also got another big block of wood here. And this is going to serve as my counterweight. On some other videos, what you'll see is people using plate weights or something like that they get from like an athletic store. And they always tell you, we'll go to about 2.5 pounds. Well, that's great, but this block of wood, it weighs the same amount, so why am I going to go buy athletic weights that I'm going to have to rig onto the bottom of this and hold in place somehow, because they're not going to actually fit when I can just use a big block of wood that I can screw into anywhere I want and make it work for me. So there we go. That's kind of what we've got to set up with. These are our parts that we're going to be using for this project. Let's move forward and I'll show you how it assembles. Okay, so I'm going to show you the basic assembly of the pipe, and that's the easiest part of this project, is the pipe work, because basically everything just screws together. Super simple. Having said that, I'm just going to show you how to assemble it. What I'm actually going to do before I'm done with this project is I'm going to put Loctite on stuff and seize everything up so that it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't shake, doesn't loosen up on me or anything like that. But I'm just going to show you the basic principle behind how this assembles. So, very simply, let's move some of these over here, out of the way a little bit. We've got our T. We're going to take one pipe, provided I can line up the threads correctly. We're going to screw that into the T there. I'm going to take another pipe, screw it into the T like that. Got it? Other pipe. I think you're catching on with what I'm doing here. Screw it in like that. Okay? There we go. One of these will now be the bottom where the weight's going to be. The other one's going to be the top where that flat block's going to be and that camera's going to mount. and the other one's going to be your handle. This one coming off the side is going to end up being your handle. So the one that's going to be your handle, take your little cap, thread that on there like that. You're finished with the handle now. Okay? The bottom, again, because I had to go to a 3/4 inch, I got to put a reducer on there. Again, the reducer that I had laying around with this extra little piece of pipe. So the reducer is going to go on the bottom, or actually, it's just like some other type of fitting. Anyhow, this piece goes here. It's a reducer, but I'm not actually reducing. See, reducing would be going this way. But anyhow, okay, so I screw that other little piece of pipe in there so that I can get to the right size for my 3/4 plate, which is going to be the bottom. This is going to be on the bottom of my project, not the top, because all of these pieces are actually creating extra weight. So I want the extra weight at the bottom as a counterbalance. So there we go. Just kind of screw that on. That's the bottom. Okay, that's where that big block of wood is going to be attached to. And this is going to be the top, so I've got my small little plate that I actually bought. And this is going to mount to the bottom of the flat piece of wood where the camera is actually going to be. Screw that on there just like so. And there you go. There's the whole thing pretty much assembled. Okay? So that you can get the idea of what I'm going to do here from here on out is at the bottom is where the big block of wood goes. That's going to be mounted just like that. Okay? Basically, I'm just going to take 4 screws, run them in, and that creates my counterweight. Alright? On the top, where the camera platform is going to be, it's going to be like this. Okay? I'm going to center that up, get that screwed in there with some regular old wood screws. Very simple. And then that will serve as the camera platform on the top. However, I'm going to run this screw through this wood at a place that I choose that it's actually going to fit my camera the best, so that when it comes up through the bottom of the wood, it's going to put my camera in a good position. See, like with the DSLR, you're going to want the camera to sit further back so you have more support in the front. But with my video camera, the little screw attachment for it actually happens to be in the front of the camera, so you'll have more of the camera on the back. So anyhow, I'm going to do some little things with this where I'm actually going to take this nut, I'm going to actually countersink it into this wood. You don't have to do all that. That's just what I'm going to do. I just don't want it to come out. I'm going to countersink that into the wood, drive the screw up through the bottom into that, and then you'll have just enough of that screw sticking through that wood so you'll be able to screw the camera on. So I'm going to stop talking about this and I'll start showing you exactly how I'm going to get this done. Okay, so since this is one of those little detail things, I wanted to show you what I did here. So obviously you can see where I marked on my little piece of wood here. Again, this is the camera platform end. Exactly where I wanted my mounting screw to come through. So drilled it in from the bottom or from the top, it really doesn't matter. And then on the top side, however, see, I countersunk that. If you don't have a countersink, you can just use a drill bit that's slightly larger and it serves the same purpose. But what that's for is when I take this little nut here, okay, I can now seat that into that hole there with a few taps. Okay, now that's not going anywhere, and that way my screw, when I run it through, it's not going to back out on me for any reason. So now I just take the screw, I run it in from the bottom side, and it's going to come up through that nut there, and that's going to make my camera mount. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what I was talking about earlier when I said I was going to countersink that nut into there. Okay, let's move on. Okay, well, essentially, there's our finished product. Obviously not painted or finished off or anything like that yet. What I'm going to do is go ahead and take it out and go shoot some video, and then I'll show you what the video looks like here. Okay, well, here is the finished stabilizer, all painted, with a couple little modifications that I made to it. Let me point those out to you here. On the top here, as you can see, I stapled a piece of thin plastic to create a surface that'll grip the camera a little bit better. And then down here at the bottom, I actually bored out a hole towards the back of the stabilizer, approximately 1.5 inches deep, and I filled that with molten lead to create a little bit more weight. And actually it balances it a lot better. So there you see, that's the finished stabilizer, and I will link the very first video I ever shot with the stabilizer in the description below.